showing up for you. Please join us on camera if you're able to. Thank you. This is going to be a fun experience. I can already tell you. So we've been chatting about image and action. Have you been playing with that this past week? Recognizing how you're showing up in different ways? I know I have, and it's been very exciting, interesting. Recognizing what I'm doing that you guys already see. It's beautiful and powerful and fun, and owning the actions that I'm choosing, the images I'm sharing. We've talked about that with family and in occupation, and just recognizing how I'm feeling, how I want to be seen, how I want to share myself with myself in the world. Here we go. Hi.
Wow, sees that, and that's such an important and beautiful opening to today's conversation that we're about to embark on. And I had a little time to spend some time with the life leaders just before we got on that we'll be sharing with you afterwards, because this is a very layered lens that we're going to look at the topic of the nature of image and action through virtual community and social, meaning social media. And I want to just take a moment, whether you're on screen or off screen, whether you have a virtual background or not, take a peek at the gallery right now, and let's just grab the squares that everybody is projecting there. And I'm going to use this expression. Today, we have to be very fluid with words because this is a complex conversation to have. But I'm going to suggest capture this setting and understand that you are looking at an image in artificial life. Okay. And artificial life in this epoch actually comes with a bit of a definition. It's sometimes referred to as A-Life, the acronym with an uppercase A-Life, also known in this way. And there's a lot of research and studying going around at how do we integrate the image in an artificial life with the action that needs to accompany it, and what and how is there a contrast when we are dealing with the interdisciplinary study of life and a life-like process by means of computer simulation. Okay, I'm going to just do it. I'm going to demonstrate. So let's look at this computer simulation here for a minute. Okay, so I take you off of Eric and I's background. Clearly, we have a green screen background, right? And, I can pick for you you know this, but I'm going to blip through. What's the setting for today? And here, we'll just be a piece of grass, or leaves or whatever. And for the purposes of today, yeah, let's just do this because it gives us two backgrounds. Take your eye also to Cecilia, who she just came into this morning with this because this was her image in her artificial life today. Okay. And part of this is to understand that the goal of this activity in an image of artificial life in some way has to include understanding and creating life and lifelike systems and developing, if you will, a practical way where you are inspiring these living systems. The living system is now referred to as your organic life, your biological life. So I'm going to now step off this, and I want to present a disclaimer, because the disclaimer is important for us to ultimately today, we are going to look at we're going to look at how the reconnective healing experience is a expressive and receptive action that allows us to sync image and action throughout our daily life. But we're going to do that in a discussion at the end. And in between, we're going to look at some of these important disclaimers. So first, I want to suggest that in exploring this topic, there is a lot of research that is strongly revealing that when our social media presence, okay, our artificial life presence, because it is a presence, does not match, is not in sync to the identity offline, our organic image, we inevitably create something called cognitive dissonance in our life. So I want to give you the definition of cognitive dissonance. It's a very general, for those of you who are psychologists or psychiatrists, it's a very general one. But the way it is expressed is it is a state of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes, especially relating to behavioral decisions and attitude changes. So I see Harry moving around in the mountains. Harry, you're not really in the mountains, but the way you're moving around in the mountains gives me the sense that you've got enormous amounts of atmospheric altitude and breath. It's making me feel better, right? So there is a part of this effort to sort of remove cognitive dissonance. It comes up, it arises in the movement now of our image and action in our organic life and in this artificial life. So we innately, instinctually, intuitively end up tweaking our own behavior offline, believe it or not, to suit our social media presence, or vice versa. So it goes both ways. And tweaking in a way these behaviors, it reinforces what I'm going to say is a self-image, an image and an action. But what the research is showing is that this cycle is actually showing to perpetuate the ever kind of growing influence of our social media identity or our community, virtual community identity. Now, this may be part of this incredible world Earth situation over the past 2 years. And this surge in having to be able to touch through technology. So it's a fertile territory, but we do want to be very aware. We want to be aware. And this lens and this way of image and action isn't something we can overlook, because in some ways, while we're very focused on how fucked up our family life can make us, believe me, it doesn't even hold a candle to the cognitive dissonance that your artificial life is stirring, and you may not even be aware of it. So there's another layer.
Yeah.
There's another layer to this. And Eric is paying attention, because this is one of these things where I did a lot of this looking at this lens.
It's Jillian's researching.
It's
So it's basically Jillian's presentation
not, well,
with my chime-ins.
okay. The story of ourself is told often through our thoughts and our memories, and also our expectations. So every day, as we sort of live in what we are redefining as ourself in this way, in this social system, artificial social system, it's very interesting. I'm going to go to you, Cece. because Cecilia for a long time had a common background, but something in the relationship to her true nature is consistently causing her to bring now what she is tightly tied to in her work life, in many aspects of what her purpose is in the world. And, you know, with Cecilia, she so deeply lives in a reconnective healing experience in her daily life. It doesn't mean she doesn't have shitty days, you know, or challenging. And I'm speaking on your behalf, but I want to use these as a little bit of an example. They don't define her because she understands the well versus the world. She knows this innately in a way. So this story each day that we live and redefining ourselves is always coming about in a way largely due to the fact that we're in a society, we live in a world where individualism is celebrated. Please make that note for yourself. Okay? You are celebrated in the world as an individual. You are unrecognized as an individual in the well, the before, beyond experience known as your life. So there's a great paradox here. Okay. And we think of ourselves, interestingly enough, as an individual, especially now enforced in this wonderful virtual artificial life that we have. It's interesting. We think of ourselves as the principal architect of our identity. And this medium is given tens of thousands of tools for you to do this. You can, and you are architecting your identity there. Think of the longitude and latitude that you have now. Everything, I'm not even talking about your physical appearance. I'm not even talking about your background. I am talking about attributes to your identity that can be suggestive through an emoji, through the tools that you are being given to shape this identity. So while we might think, and I'm going to use a curse example, that your neighborhood church or synagogue, where you walk and cross paths every day with someone wearing, donning their particular identity, especially if it's a religious institution, it may be a priest, it may be a rabbi, it may be whoever, and the actions associated, and maybe you have just learned that some incestual act of someone who you cross a path with every day has happened, and now that's something that is so out of sync again with the image and the action that you have seen in your organic life. Your capacity and the capacity for that imbalance or chasm in this artificial life is 10,000-fold. Okay, so we have to look at this with some great care, and we have to be, again, aware that the principal architecting of our identity in this medium is very extensive. So we also have to be aware that that environment begins to create a firm belief that we shape, again, that identity. And then we ask the question, is it a truthful identity? Is it true? And part of today, image and action, and that topic is where we're going to explore. So I'm going to bring us to last week again and remind us that we touched on the power to see ourselves and to know our true nature and our self-concept last week.
You can back up, Julie is saying, I didn't understand what you meant by incestual.
Okay.
Incest.
So somebody who is in a religious order that is caught in the act of a violation with a family member. This is not uncommon, and or obviously someone who is part of the community. But that's what I meant. I didn't, yeah, a violation of how we might perceive their moral status, their moral identity to be an absolute reflection of actions we can count on. Okay. So is that clear?
Is that helping?
I'm trying not to be.
I understand what incestual is. I didn't know if you were using it in a different context or yeah, I wasn't following all of that actually, but
Just
you-
when we
you
hear,
mean literally somebody,
Right.
yeah,
that's just, yeah. Let's use something very specific. A doctor who puts their patients under anesthesia and sexually violates them
yeah.
while
Yeah,
also mending to the surgical procedure that they're there for. A healthcare worker who working in a facility with elderly people who they're there to help and serve. And obviously,
Abuse.
right. I'm just looking at action that is out of sync with the image that we rely upon based on
Okay.
the image that they are presenting in
The
the world.
image they've chosen to present
That's all.
and how
Got
the
it.
public responds to that image.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And then really the point was also to say that while in the organic world, it's actually much more difficult to, in a way, get away with that kind of imbalance or unsyncing. But in our virtual world, those of you, again, who are involved in artificial life exchange dating, or, I mean, and that doesn't mean that beautiful relationships don't come out of it, but there's much more latitude for out of sync imbalance to occur in the image action when we are in our artificial life and in our artificial community. This is a long way of getting to something that I think we understand, but I'm really wanting us to take it seriously. So again,
So for instance, here, we're presenting something, Jillian mostly, as teachers of a subject in depth. And well, it just wouldn't match our image if suddenly someone jumped on and said, hey, YouTubers, thank you very much for joining us today. And yet it's part of what we need to do. We will tell you, we'd love to invite you to some of the YouTubers, to some of the Solomon Speaks presentations. There's a lot of growth and depth and development that's going on in that group. It's very exciting and inspiring that way. It was really nice too, because because we started off this morning with an IG Live and we were going into depth about the relationship between that healing is freedom. So we started off on something, we went into a lot of depth in Solomon, which we always do. We want to encourage you to come join us. Join the RLC. It's free for the first month. You can be involved here in the Living Lives. You can be involved in the Solomon Speaks. And if you just want to play with the Reconnective Healing energy, light, and information, the experience of it more in depth, download the portal. The first hour of that is free, and Jillian and I will share with you, and we'll talk about it. There'll be philosophy and science and exercises, and all in short 6 minutes of that and 8 minutes of that. So come join us, enjoy yourself. Let's play. And otherwise, we'll see you here next week.
okay, everybody wave to the YouTubers. And look at this. We're so multifaceted. We're on multiple channels. Here we're hearing the expression and experience of our live and love. And simultaneously, we have a whole realm peeking in, observing, if you will. So yeah, and thank you for that transition, Eric. Again, another part of this. But again, I want to try to see if we can't bring last week and this week forward. So the power to see ourselves. We already know that the latitude and longitude of your capacity to obscure and create a quite dislocated or out of sync image and action in your art.
Hi, I'm Eric Pearl, and we have launched an online course called The Portal. It's an expansion of our online essentials, our level 1, an 8+ hour e-learning course.
And we decided to add content because our students were asking for more. What is a portal? It's a doorway to transformation.
It includes the 8 hours of the online essentials course,
2 key chapters, one on love and one on healing, and workbooks from our worthiness episode from the series The Inner Compass.
more than 10 hours of content.
The portal helps us discover our roadblocks that may be stopping us from living our fullest potential.
How does the portal help bring about these benefits? Easy to follow short segments with interactive exercises, information acquired not only through the mind, but through interaction with the frequencies themselves. Effortless learning and personal evolution.
It brings the possibility for instant transformation, healing, and the evolution of each and every one of us in our everyday lives.
Hey there, family. Dr. Eric and Jillian here.
Welcome, everyone.
And we're very excited about Reconnective Life, our first online global community. This is the most exciting way we've been able to get together since I founded the Reconnection. It'll be a place where we can do things together. We'll move into breakout rooms at times when that's appropriate. We'll have energy interactions and meditations and exercises. In other words, expect things you haven't seen before.
You are so charged.
Things we
He is so lit about every new way we get to be together every day. Just be together. Let us just speak a little bit about what is going to be the shape of this community.
In this community, we can share and discover more. Here we can talk to each other, we can chat, we can learn from and about one another. Jillian, me, our life leaders, and you will be in daily conversation with you. Weekly, we will have Facebook Lives.
We will be with you every Wednesday. Sometimes it'll be just Eric. On occasion, it might just be me. Sometimes it'll be the two of us. It's all about giving you a way to look at the week living in the frequencies.
And in every 4th week, we will include a live Q&A so we can talk about the things that have been coming up for us, discuss back and forth, share, grow, expand together.
And the ever-growing library of content that has been created over 20 years that will be on demand for you. It will be on-demand content for you to view, enjoy, share again with your inner circle.
And monthly, we are going to have live Zoom retreats. We're going to bring in some exercises and experiences and things that previously we've reserved for our physical retreats, you know, when we were in the different location resorts and things. And we're modifying them so that we can work with these with you in your home, in your living room, in your den.
Put into the chat line, what is facility?
We're having these weekly Zoom in-depth Q&As.
Finally, we have a place and space to just define what does that really mean living in the frequencies.
This is something that is in all of us.
Everyone can do this.
It doesn't matter how many levels you've gone through or how well you know the programs. It's a community that allows us to recognize how interrelated we all are as receivers of energy, light, and information.
See you there.
Reconnective life, living in the frequencies every day.